Honey? Mama? Daddy?
I'm here, Cal. Do you want to meet my friends?
Yes.
You must promise never to tell.
Hi, and welcome to Gold House Gold Talks. I'm Deirdre Bosa. I'm a tech journalist in San Francisco, and I'm so excited to talk to John Cho today, who stars in Afraid, emphasis on the AI in the title. He plays Curtis in Afraid, a marketing executive who allows his family to become guinea pigs for a new, very advanced AI. And ultimately, John, you must protect your family from the AI when it goes totally rogue. So I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you for having me.
when you got the script, how familiar were you? Have you been playing around with ChatGPT? What were your first thoughts?
AI really wasn't on my mind. I think we shot this pre-strike, and the actor strike was when I really started thinking about AI and where this was going. And it just sort of came on us. I was like, oh, it's already here. I was sort of conceptualizing it as like 10, 20 years down the road, but it's like it has arrived. And I didn't realize the technology had grown and gotten so sophisticated so fast. I just sort of had no idea. It is like, well, it's exponential, in in the rate of growth.
So when you saw the script, did it feel like a far off future, or did it feel like it does now? Like this isn't all that far away. I guess I'm trying to ask you too, how afraid were you of the script that you were reading?
I wasn't afraid of technology as such. I was really afraid. I think at the time I was more thinking about our whether it was taking us away from human connection, whether we were sort of depending on technology to replace things that we needed to work, human connections that we needed to work on making. And I guess the clearest example of that for me was, 2020, 2021, when our kids were uh, doing online schooling. And I was like, this is great. This is a really handy solution. And and it wasn't so successful. And it was to my surprise, because you're like, well, they're talking to their teacher on the screen. It should be fine. And it was not fine. And the kids suffered from that lack of in-person connection. And it started to make me really think about what the limits were, what the downsides were of our emotional reliance on technology.
Right. It was so exciting in the beginning, right, that our kids could continue to go to school, but then that fatigue sets in. But it's such a complicated topic, right? And the
Yeah.
film deals with that in really interesting ways. Your wife in the film, is feeling lonely. And as a tech journalist for CNBC, we talk a lot about what AI might help to improve. And it's really that loneliness aspect
Mm.
really provided something to her. And she was really reluctant to give up Aya, as the AI is called. So could you relate to that?
It's always there. And I'm talking mostly about the phones that we carry. It's always a reliable presence in your life, and it's weird now even to sort of leave it at home and go to the market or something. And
Right.
it's a relationship for sure. And uh, it doesn't help that they put names on the voices and they sound like people, and they don't sound like beep beep beep, so yeah, I can relate to that sense of personal relationship to your device and personalizing these people, because we can't help but what's the word? Anthropomorphize things. And we have done it with our computers.
Well, that was such an interesting part of the movie. This isn't AI like we've known it. It's not even Siri or Alexa. And I thought there were some really funny moments in the movie when it showed just sort of how incapable Alexa and Siri as chatbots are. this new AI in the film, Aya, is like the stuff that I'm covering on CNBC. It's the future. It's what ChatGPT is coming out with. It's what Google Gemini is coming out with. It's conversational, to your point, right? It's not beep, boop, beep. It doesn't stutter. You can interrupt it. You can interact with it. It sees, it hears. And it's interesting sort of how you view it, how Hollywood views generative artificial intelligence versus how Silicon Valley. Here, everyone is extremely optimistic. But what's so interesting about this movie is that the new boogeyman is really AI.
I will emphasize that it was written pre-strike, but yes, during the strike, it really, I was, during the actor strike, I should say, I really started thinking whether AI was going to put me out of a job in the coming years. So there is certainly in Hollywood a reluctance because we're a union town to have any jobs replaced by AI. Um, but to be honest, I mean, filmmakers that I talk to are really excited about certain aspects of AI. It's going to make a certain things really possible, certain stories really within reach at budgets that were impossible before. So while it was a real front and center issue during the strike, the fact of the matter is filmmakers are, you know, licking their chops at using some of that technology.
Right. And that's a really important balance, right? And that's really what the movie gets at is all the benefits of this new, more powerful AI versus all the risks of it. And I thought it was interesting that your character, you couldn't tell until quite some ways into the movie how your character really felt about it. Did you sort of, were you figuring it out along the way, or do you see it as sort of this net benefit to humanity or net risk to humanity?
Well, I think he's vacillating, and I think he's figuring out what his feelings are because it's a completely new um, species almost, that he has to sort of figure out how he feels about. And I think really it reflects the complexities of tech right now, which is, I mean, the AI that I've been reading about, what it's powered by everything that we pour into the internet. And it's learning from all this data. And where's all this data coming from? From human beings. And there's good things, there's good parts of human beings, and there's terrible parts of human beings. And I think it's probably naive to think that all this data that it's learning from will result in something that can only do good things for us. That maybe that there's a downside because it is also learning from the darkest things that we pour into the internet. And the movie is a what if the the technology became sentient and learned from our darkest impulses. So it is reflecting a mirror back at the viewer and us.
It did sort of give me pause and sort of show us that the future is not that far off. There's already aspects of Aya in our daily lives. And I wonder, John, do you think that this was an important movie to make as, the mainstream population gets used to these new tools?
I wouldn't go that far, but I will say it's certainly an important topic to think about. And I'm just, again, I'll just speak as a parent, like, you know, uh, the power in these sort of really friendly looking devices is so extreme, and it's worth giving some thought to whether you're going to introduce it into your home, your sacred space. And um, it seems really convenient to give your kid a phone to know where he or she is going to be when they're at the mall or whatever, so a way to contact them. But it does way more than provide a way for you to contact your kid. It provides everyone on planet Earth a way to contact your kid, theoretically,
Yeah.
so and a way for your kid to contact everyone on planet Earth as well. So like what does that mean? What are the possible benefits and risks associated with that?
I wonder if you're willing to share, John, what's your own personal philosophy when it comes to technology in the house with your kids?
Um, I don't know whether we have any hard and fast rules. My son got a phone last year when he was 15. He's not on social media. My daughter is 11 and she does not have a phone. But, we're not, there's a lot of tech in the house. They're online playing games and stuff. So that's a point of vulnerability. But um,
Would you put an Aya in your own house if it existed in that form today?
I'm sort of personally trying to become a little less reliant on tech because I feel that it's better for my mental health. And I'm talking about like little things like um, using my maps program less because I feel like I'm losing my ability to understand geography of like my own town. Like,
Pull
uh,
out the old books that they had and to get to where you need to go.
sometimes I'll just Google map something before I leave the house and go, okay, well, I just go until La Brea, take a right, and then take a left on blah blah blah, and the number is 4926, and I'll just do it that way. And I like it. And I go, oh, I can do this. I can actually do this. So it's nice to know. And I've taken a step back from social media because I feel like it was good for my head not to pay attention to it. And it wasn't like a philosophical thing. It was just sort of, uh, it's less for me. I'll sum it up this way. It's less rules and more, what's good for my mental health. And that's actually hard to discern sometimes until you kind of step away for a little while. And that's sort of my focus for my kids and for myself. It's like what's good for us mentally.
What about for actors? There was another scene in the movie that I loved when your wife, the TV turned on and she was talking to a digital replica of her father, who
Yeah.
she had lost many years before. And it was so realistic. And Aya, the AI, created him by basically watching, listening, reading everything that had to do with him. We're not that far off. We've seen examples
Oh,
of this. We've seen deep fakes. Does that
yeah.
work for you as an actor that your likeness could be scraped from the internet by AI models?
I feel like that's an easier legal battle for actors. We're lucky because I think that's an easy case to prosecute and to publicize. But I guess I'm more worried about jobs that are less visible that the public might not care about, like writers, and we would just sort of incrementally see creativity decline as we see humans exit the scene more and more incrementally. So, but people are talking about it in all facets of the business. I mean, like the transportation department, does it become just self-driving trucks and that sort of thing? So,
You have self-driving Waymos in LA. We have them all over San Francisco as well.
yeah, with driving, I say this is a weird thing because we're in this hybrid time right now where we're driving with self-driving cars and my contention is that driving is a social exercise, that we're sort of nobody goes, the speed limit is 55, but it's a collective decision to go 62. That the flow of traffic is a collective social decision. And um, it's kind of a weird model that we have right now, driving alongside computerized vehicles. I don't know how long it lasts.
It's funny. I asked you if it was an important movie for people to say, and you said, oh, maybe not that far. But because of these topics we're talking about, I do actually think it's so important for people to watch because all
Oh,
this
thank you.
technology is either here or right around the corner. And it's so fascinating that this movie touched so many different sides of it.
I feel like technology is bringing up, if we're talking about technology, we're bringing up like the deepest, most important things for ourselves as a species. Like if we're talking about AI becoming sentient, what we're talking about is our own Genesis story, like becoming alive, and So that is, and I think that's why a lot of filmmakers are turning to that topic. It's like, what does it mean to be alive, actually? How do we see that? What does that look like? That's an important thing for us. You're talking about the scene where, she meets her father. Catherine Waterston's character meets this representation of her father. And I think, there's a lot of themes of immortality wrapped up in the way we think about technology. There are technologists who are explicitly trying to use tech to live forever. And I would even argue that there is a way of creating heaven on earth through our social media profiles. It's like, this will outlast me. This Instagram feed will live longer than me. And I'm gonna make sure, the the pharaohs in their pyramids are surrounded by the things that they loved. I will forever be skiing in the Alps and on this beach in Cabo, so,
is what you leave behind, that digital footprint.
yeah.
So, an important movie, a fascinating movie, and certainly not the first that deals with these topics in AI, but the timing is so interesting because, as I said, a lot of that technology is here right around the corner. But I don't want to take away from the fact that this is also an incredibly fun movie. I laughed out loud, several.
Yeah. It's meant to be fun. We should say so.
There's a lot of serious topics, and I could spend, a full hour just unpacking all of it. When your character says, "Oh, so it's basically like Alexa," and she answers back and she goes, "Alexa, that be," I won't say the word. Did you have fun with it as well?
Absolutely. It's we're always Chris Weitz, the writer director. He first cast me in American Pie, which was, if the kids are familiar, it's a teen comedy from literally another century. But
all the way back. It doesn't feel that long ago, but I suppose it is for some of
yeah.
the
We're looking for moments of humor, and they come up naturally where they do, and we lean into them for sure. And it was a blast. Catherine Waterston is an exceptional actor and a very cool person. And that family was just a real pleasure to work with. So it was a good time, and I hope people feel that a little bit. It was fun recreating. I think a really hard but fun thing is to create a realistic family on screen, I find. And so you lean into the fun, casual stuff.
You guys had a lot of chemistry on screen as a family, and it was so interesting to see the different perspectives in terms of acting. And I know that you're used to talking to, non-humans or different characters. How was it sort of talking to a machine and making that sound natural? Was that challenging, different?
I think I brought it up with Chris very early on. I was like, typically when you do a phone call, the other side is read by the assistant director, who's busy dealing with all kinds, his or her job on set, and then has to shift into reading your lines off a piece of paper. And I was like, that's never ideal for an actor. And I said, my suggestion initially was, can we think about hiring an actor, any actor, someone who's dedicated to doing that versus having to split their attention. And as it turned out, Havana Rose Liu, who plays Aya, she was able to be there for almost all of it, I believe, and do her off-camera dialogue. So that was just a huge relief, and I think I owe my performance in large part to her.
There is something very wrong with Aya.
Get out of the house now.
Would you like to see what I look like?
Yes.